Hello, women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jacquie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. This week, have the pleasure of introducing Adelaide Reilly, Chief Product Officer with the Channel Company. Hi, how are you doing, AJ?
Hi, Jackie. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to do this podcast with you.
Yes, I'm so excited to get to know you a little better and for our community too as well. So we will start off with the icebreaker questions. Where do you live and where did you grow up, if that's different?
I live in just in a suburb west of Boston, about 20 plus miles due west. I came out here for college back in 1900 and stayed the entire time. I grew up in Cleveland. And so for the first 18 years of my life, I'm a Cleveland girl. I'm still a Cleveland sports fan. It's heartbreaking many years, but I find that if I watch Major League 3 times a year and cry myself to sleep, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, you sound a lot like my husband there.
My husband tells me I should switch sport affiliations. I'll do that one of these days.
That's funny. I love it. All right, what is a little known fact about you that you don't mind sharing?
I was born left-handed, and because of school and the way school was set up, learned to write with my right hand. But I still play all of my sports left-handed. It gets a little confusing sometimes when I eat. If I put the fork down, I don't remember which hand I was using. But during high school and college, I became ambidextrous.
That is very cool. My grandmother had the same experience. I'm also left-handed, and my husband is left-handed, but he plays all sports right-handed. So I'm always
Yeah,
amazed when people can do that. I think in my head it's like way too much processing
yeah,
for me to
yeah.
switch.
I think golf is the only sport in putting where I definitely am right-handed on.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That is a fun fact. I love it. All right. Well, let's dive into your experiences, right, in your career. So, how about we talk about some experiences or transformational moments that you've had in your life?
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of being at the Channel Company now for more than 27 years. And my journey started off on the sales side. This was not my first job coming out of college.
Hmm.
This was not what I thought I was going to be doing. I was a lit major. I thought I was going to probably be a professor or something, but I found a love of communication and attached myself to publishing pretty early on. And I also learned very early in my career how to code. The company I was at prior to coming to CMP, when I first started here, the IT manager actually taught me how to code in HTML, and we built a company's first website together. And so my love of digital and the love of publishing came together very seamlessly. I came to CMP. I wanted to understand digital publishing. IT side was the best side to come in. And through that time period, I went from being in sales to edit to custom marketing. I got a chance to spend time with the international team, with the folks that sold to engineers, to the software developers, all over the end users and our international accounts until I finally settled in the channel and just fell in love with the momentum, the energy, the way it's always disruptive and nothing is ever boring in the channel. So that's where I've gotten a chance to really flourish and drive media. I ran the media business all the way until about 2022 and moved over into the product side of it where I am today.
Wow. I feel like I just learned a ton from you just from one question. I knew you had been on the media side because that's about where I came in. You were transitioning from that to the product side. But
Mm-hmm.
wow, that is like proof that, our roads are never, just whoop. I know exactly what I'm going to do when I'm not even a fully formed human and I go to college and pick a career. And, you found your passions anyway
Mm-hmm.
and got to touch so many aspects, which I feel like only helps where you're the position that you're in today.
Yeah, I'm very lucky in saying that when I had a passion to learn something new, as long as I was willing to put in the sweat equity for it, this
Hmm.
company let me do that. So I actually drove the evolution of my career just because I was curious, because I wanted to know how far I could take my own skill in learning something, because people were willing to teach me, and I was willing to master something to be able to get to that next stage. It is a lot of momentum, but the company gave me the ground to be able to do it.
I love that, AJ. Aside from that, how do you differentiate yourself?
Well, I'm really invested in my people. and
Mm-hmm.
I'm invested in them to a point of continuous learning. I think
Mm.
oftentimes management companies, well, companies, when they promote you to a manager, it's usually to teach you about that element of the business and execution of that business. But what they often don't really focus on is the development of the human being as a manager. And where we might roll out a lot of management training, the added element to it is I try to teach everybody about our industry always. So be a good manager, but be it in the context of what it means to be a really great company in the industry that we live in today.
Yeah, that's a great answer and very, very good advice. I hope I never stop learning. That is something that I think younger in career, you're like, oh, I just want to finish school and be done with it. And then you're like, wait, nope,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn every day for the rest of my life, which
Yeah.
in technology is very, very critical,
Yeah.
obviously.
But you can take all of that forward with you. Like one of the one-on-ones I do with one of my team members, because I want them to be in a habit of creative problem solving, I bring jigsaw puzzles to the office. And when we do our one-on-ones, we puzzle. Sometimes I'll even do like crosswords, or I'll do Sudoku or something. When I can't solve something I'm trying to figure out, I'll take it into a different area and puzzle it out. And that just kind of helps unlock the thinking a little bit, just gets you in a different
Yeah,
space. There's no pressure. And then you realize like, oh yeah, I found the pathways to get there. And then,
I
you
love
finish your
that.
puzzle, and then you got to get up and go contact the people you need.
Yeah, that's a new tool and tip. I've never heard that one before, but I can totally see how that works. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we have time for one more.
Okay.
So let's talk about perhaps some patterns that you've noticed over the years at work and things that we could be doing better to advance our careers.
So I would say to all women, never preface any of your questions with the phrase, I have a stupid question. The truth is, you're
Mm,
not stupid. The truth is, wanting to know information is not a stupid thing. Wanting clarity is not stupid. So don't introduce yourself into the conversation by telling everybody that you're dumb, because you're not. So I have eliminated that. And I wish I could go back and tell my younger self that and got onto this little train earlier on. That's one thing I think that we all do. The second thing is be a little less apologetic, because
mm,
wanting the information, you shouldn't be sorry for wanting that, and wanting clarity to do your job better. You shouldn't be sorry about that either. There are a number of ways I think that we introduce a pattern for ourselves that inhibits the way others, especially senior leadership, might look at us. And spending that extra effort in the way we're trying to demonstrate kindness might be backfiring on us.
yeah.
I had a mentor of mine, a male mentor of mine, tell me recently that you're too nice. And I said, what do you mean I'm too nice? And he said, well, the way that you kind of help everybody clean up after a meeting. And I said, that's servant leadership. I really lean into that. And he said, sometimes it's at your detriment, because you could really be focusing on something where your strategic brain power is needed and not necessarily in wiping down a table. And I'm like, ooh, that's really good food for thought. I hadn't thought
Mm.
about that, how I do myself that disservice sometimes when it can be handled by other people. And I am called to do something that's probably a little bit more challenging at my level.
Yeah. Yeah. That is all of this has been such great advice. And I could keep talking to you. There's plenty of time to continue to get to know you. So thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining me
Jacquie.
today and allowing us to celebrate you. All right, community members, please do give your high fives, provide your comments, feedback, and insights, because the conversations were never meant to end here. So until next time, have an amazing week.